All right, welcome to the Violent Martial Arts Podcast. My name is Mr. Kyle Lee. I'm a third-degree black belt instructor here at our academy. I'm joined here today by Master Samuel Llabres, a fifth-degree master instructor here at the academy. So let's start off first with how are you today, good sir?
Doing good, Kyle. Good to be back. Good to be getting another podcast in. So it's been a while.
Yes, sir. I agree. It's been a little while. I'm glad we're getting back into the habit of getting back into doing our recordings for all of our students and everybody at home.
Definitely.
And that really leads into our main topic for today. We're going to be talking a little bit about habit building. Especially with it coming towards the end of the year, we want to talk about how do we build better habits so that it can start to translate into the new year. So I think the first place to really start out with is, what is a habit? How do we define a habit? What is a habit to you, good sir?
So I have a habit down as actions that are performed on the regular basis without much forethought or planning.
Okay, excellent, sir. So it's already kind of similar to where my definition was going at. They are small decisions that we make and actions that we perform every day, much like you said, without us really thinking or even knowing that we're doing it. They're just something that we consistently do because we just built up upon them over time. So why is habit building important? Why is habit building important to you?
Man, habit building is important for a bunch of reasons. One, because if you're not building habits, okay, our mind will naturally create habits, right? Habits are shortcuts that our mind uses to get things done quickly without much thought. And if you're not filling yourself with positive habits, chances are you're gonna have some negative habits gleam onto you, right?
Yes, sir.
Things that feel good, feel pleasurable, but don't have long-term value to what you're trying to achieve.
Gotcha, sir. Absolutely. I agree with that. Because habits are some of our lives. They're just things that we have done over accumulation of time, just things that we've just built upon, whether they're good habits or they're bad habits. What we repeatedly do ultimately forms the person that we are going to be, the things that we believe, and the personalities that we portray. So, if we've constantly had a habit of building bad habits over time, then that's, of course, going to translate into the things that we do in our lives. And they can range from anything. They can range from our sleep habits. They can range from our health. They can range to our work habits, our personal habits, our social habits. All of these different things can be formed just from things that we've done and built over time. And you've touched on so far as habits that can be negative.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to talk on that a little bit more too. What is a bad habit? Why do we build these bad habits over time? What are some things that could lead to that?
Well, from my understanding, and we've been doing a lot of work with different books throughout the year. One of the most notable books being Atomic Habits with our leadership students. Negative habits are simply things that the brain finds pleasurable and allows us to, like I said, perform those acts without much thought. So we're talking about sleep deprivation, typically a bad habit for most people because they like to stay up late, like to sit back and watch movies or stay on social media or play video games. I can't tell you how many times I've had a conversation with one of our students on when it's appropriate time to get to bed and why not to stay up late and play video games.
Yes, sir.
And unfortunately, those negative habits feel good in the moment, but really have some long-term nasty effects on the way that they perform in school, the way that they can handle themselves when they're doing their extracurricular activities. So,
absolutely. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that, sir. And I think, a couple of different things that those negative habits come about from, one of them being boredom. We're bored, we don't know what to do. So it's like, I'm going to, drift into what I think is easy and it's going to cause me the most pleasure. Or it could also just be caused from stress. If we're under a lot of stress, we're under a lot of stressful situations, oftentimes a lot of people tend to cope with negative stressors, whether it's, overeating, eating unhealthy, not getting a lot of sleep, sleeping too much,
right. Habits of poor, poor stress management.
Absolutely.
Right? So instead of, being aware and conscious of what's going on and why I feel stressed and how to alleviate it, you do something that just feels good and just makes it feel like, okay, the stress is gone. Now I feel happy.
Right.
Not thinking about, more in-depth and more positive ways that we can handle that situation and handle those feelings.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. I agree. So now let's talk a little bit about, now that we've kind of really defined what a bad habit comes about, how do we change some of these bad habits? Because obviously we don't want to have these bad habits to continue to linger into our lives. We want to start to build more positive, healthier habits, especially going into the new year. So
when it comes to establishing more positive habits, I think one major aspect is just being conscious of our negative habits.
Sure.
Right? If we don't really pinpoint what we're doing in our life that is unhelpful and making some things probably worse in our life, then
Right.
we're not going to go out of our way to be able to really change them.
Yes, sir.
And once we establish the bad habits, there's a couple ways you can handle it. One, you can just work on eliminating that habit by replacing it with the more positive one.
Sure.
Right. So I feel bored. I feel tired. I feel like I've had a long, stressful day. Do I just sit down, eat junk food, and watch TV? Do I dull myself into that sense of happiness or comfort, or do I do something that I know is going to be productive for me? That might not feel as immediately exciting, but I know it's going to be beneficial.
Absolutely.
Going to the gym, right? Reading a book. Especially nowadays, a lot of people aren't as avid of readers as they used to be.
Absolutely.
Much easier forms of entertainment out there.
Right.
Right. So, go into something that is more positive, but might just be a little bit tougher to get started.
Absolutely. And I feel like some of the ways that we can really start to build upon those habits is, starting small.
Yeah.
It can be as simple as like, if I want to get into better shape, it's like, well, do I need to do all these 50 million exercises right away? No, starting small. And that could be as simple as, okay, today I'm going to do 10 push-ups. I'm going to do 10 sit-ups, 10 squats, see how I do with that. And then I slowly start to build that momentum from there. I know Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's obviously a big fitness guru for a lot of folks, myself included. One of the big things that he talks about, especially around this time of year, is, everybody sets this goal for, once the new year comes around, I'm going to get in the gym. I'm going to start, get into better shape. But in the meantime, they don't really start to develop any habits in order to make that goal or that habit a reality. They set that goal in November, December, saying, January, I'm going to get it started. But it's like, okay, what could you do in the meantime to where you start that habit for the new year and you can continue that momentum moving forward? A lot of people tend not to do that. Instead of starting right now with, going to the gym, starting to do some basic exercises at home, doing these small things to start building that habit to where we can increase our momentum in smaller ways to where eventually we can really start to take off with those better habits. And I think another big thing too with that is being patient. A lot of people have a tendency, if it doesn't work right away, they want to give up. And I think that's where a lot of people tend to fall into that pattern at the beginning of the year. Well, I'm not losing weight. I'm not putting on muscle. I guess this habit of mine isn't working. I should just quit. And that's where that patience needs to come into play. And that goes with just anything, whether it's trying to build those better sleep habits, eating or healthier, all these different things needs patience, needs time.
Absolutely.
So
I think, when it comes to making any major changes in your life for the positive, you got to give yourself some grace.
Absolutely.
And understand that you're going to slip sometimes. You're going to make a mistake. You're going to maybe not make a mistake. It's more of a conscious decision, but you might fall down the wrong path and backslide a little bit.
Yes, sir.
But as long as you're moving in the right direction, a backslide or two will keep you, it'd be perfectly fine as long as you, like you said, don't give up and be persistent with it.
Absolutely, sir.
We're talking about setting our goals for the gym. One thing I think I told you I do is I hate waking up in the morning. Hate it. I could sleep it all morning if I, felt like I wanted to. But
Sir.
With my time and, the time that we spend here and everything we're doing, you don't have much opportunity to, take the time to train and get some exercise on your own.
Sure.
So whenever I'm waking up and I know I got to be somewhere, I know I got to get to training, I'll thrust my feet off the bed. Right. And that is the indicator to me. It's like, okay, you're out of bed. Even if I sit there for 5 minutes, right? It's something that you have to go through to get yourself pushing towards those more positive habits that might be a little challenging mentally to get yourself going on.
I think one thing that we're really missing out on too, we think of habit building. It's, our students here at the academy.
Absolutely.
A lot of them come in not having a lot of what we define as good habits to have, whether it's being disciplined, eating healthy, taking care of the things that we have at home. And I think one of the major things in order to make these habits start to succeed a little bit more is having a success coach or a mentor in their lives that can really, transfer to these positive habits, especially those that are reaching their goal for black belt. I mean, us ourselves, you recently got your fifth degree and
Sure.
as a master belt. I'm working towards my fourth in the coming year, so that's a big thing that I'm working on my positive habits for.
Yes, sir.
But for a lot of these guys, they don't know what it means to be a black belt. How do I reach my black belt? What do I need to do? Like, I don't know where to start. So having guys like us who have been there, they can start to build some of those positive habits from us, so they can know, like, okay, this is what I need. This is how I can start small, and what I can do to eventually achieve my black belt.
I'll
So,
tell you, you hit it right on the head. Having a success coach, to set a habit is tremendous.
sir,
When it's not just yourself that you're, holding yourself accountable for, but you're holding yourself accountable for the other people that are around you,
sure,
right? The people that you've set a certain commitment and, mission for. It makes it a lot tougher to neglect the habits that you're trying to build.
sure,
Right? So our students are coming to class, 2 to 3 times a week on the regular basis. And, at first it's a little challenging,
sure,
right? It's like, oh man, I'm a little tired, a little exhausted, feel lazy today. Maybe think I just want to stay home. But as they continue to have their parents bring them, and they continue to work with us as their success coaches and instructors for earning that black belt, coming to class, training on the regular basis, getting practice in at home.
yes, sir,
Not to mention all the other habit building sheets that our students are working on, from
sir,
reading to eating healthy to just handling self discipline and responsibilities they have at home.
right,
All of those things become more established habits, with the most important thing to set a habit: consistency.
yes, sir.
Time and consistency is the maker and breaker of all habits.
Absolutely, I agree. I agree. And that really leads into my last topic for today
Sure.
is, how do these habits, habit building relate to the martial arts? How does it relate to, what we teach here at Yi's Karate of Island? And I think you already touched on one of them, is we start building those better habits right here on the floor. And, by building those habits here, it's going to start to translate to what they do at home, at school, in society, all different areas of their lives, from, as simple as starting small with, a basic technique, whether it's just a low block, a stance, a kick, and then building upon that, building a better habit to make those blocks stronger, those kicks stronger, even from, handling their character stripes at home, from being more disciplined, taking out the trash, cleaning up the dishes, or reading more consistently, eating healthier, practicing more at home. All these different things are things that we do to start small, and then we just build upon that with all of our students.
Absolutely. As they get more accustomed to what they're doing, we ratchet it up from what's expected in regards to the responsibilities to the skill level and techniques and training that they go through.
Yes, sir.
So I think everything, like we said, was consistency. And with that consistency, you're able to build.
Yes, sir.
You go to the gym for 15, 20 minutes, right, to start. And then you can, add in another 10 minutes. And now you're going for 30, 35 minutes. And before you know it, you can get a full hour in and you feel great, you feel amazing.
Yes, sir.
But you don't have to start at the mountaintop. Most
sir.
people, if not all people, can't start at the mountaintop.
Absolutely.
You got to start at the base. You got to start at the beginning and gradually work your way to more positive and, strength building habits.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So I like a way you describe that too. It's like there is no cheat code to that. A lot of people want to say, well, I'd love to start at the top of the mountain. It's not going to happen. We have to start small. We have to start somewhere. And that starts with just small habit building that eventually leads into some bigger habits.
Sir.
So if you're sitting at home, you're listening to this, you're watching us, you're wondering, all that sounds great. How can I go about starting to build better habits for myself, maybe for my children? Come here, take a free lesson with us here at Yi's Karate of Island. You'll have an opportunity to work with a black belt instructor one-on-one and start to build better positive habits for yourself or for your children as well.
Fantastic.